Our energy is the most precious currency we possess. It's traded on the market of time and attention, and as a commodity that's traded through transference between individuals. Whether we are aware or unconscious of the fact, we are always in a state of exchange. Trading and exchanging anything must have a perceived sense of value, although when we exchange this currency of energy, we do not always seek tangible value and instead find more taxation of this currency. Most of us truly aren't aware of the toll of energy exchange. We inhale the fumes of problematic, defeatist or hindering energy, and we inhale it until it becomes our own. Just like any currency, how we manage, distribute, accumulate, save or squander it can determine whether we are in a state of abundance or in debt.
So 3 different types of energy deductors or currency abstractors, and some of them will be obviously applied in an intrinsic sense, meaning we can be doing this to ourselves to tax ourselves of our own energy. First one, an energy vampire. Somebody who relies on the life force of another individual in order to gain sustenance or to gain food. People imagine the vampire creeping up the stairs and stalking them, but look at the shit show that they've done with vampires these days, with the Vampire Diaries and the Twilights, where people lose their mind. They create this kind of seductive element to the vampire, which is kind of fitting, isn't it? Because there's a whole host of people that get so addicted of this currency being taken from them, this life force energy being taken from them, that they even end up kind of craving it themselves or even becoming a bit of a vampire. Now, in the case of an individual that's an energy vampire, they're not always aware they're a vampire. A bit like in the film The Sixth Sense. They don't know they're dead. It's very much like this with a vampiric energy. Some of the individuals that are energy vampires aren't aware of this theft that they are doing to other people. An energy vampire cannot be seen in the truth of light. Maybe the sun or the light represents truth, and by seeing too much of the truth, too much of the light, they can kind of melt away and fade away. So this might mean that they procure drama, require attention that drains other individuals. So you know when you're around these type of people, because it doesn't necessarily happen whilst you're there. It's not like a direct attack in your jugular. It happens almost after the exchange has happened. So when you come away from an individual, are you feeling fatigue? Are you feeling run down? Are you feeling like energy has been drained from you? Because an energy vampire, there isn't an even exchange. They are gaining their sustenance from the exchange of you as the individual. The question would be, how do you manage that? Very much like the tales of vampires, which says that they can't enter into a building or enter into a house without the permission of the person granting them into the house. Hence was a whole tale about vampires.
You have to invite me in. It's your home.
Same thing with energy vampires. Once we discover there's this vampiric exchange going on, meaning our time and our attention is being robbed from us and it's being taken away, and this vampire energy drains you every time you're around them. Not advocating you wear garlic as an aftershave, but put and instill boundaries when you're around them. Notice when you're giving over that currency. Notice when you're being punctured in the neck and you feel drained. And always remember that you're around an energy vampire. So be careful when you're offering up your time and attention. Or maybe not in a discivil way if you can't avoid this person, but maybe in a way that ensures that you have control over that currency. Because if you don't take control, they will. Second type of currency deductor is the defeatist. A lot more subtle than that of a vampire, however they're still taking currency away from you or from a situation. Because the defeatist in essence is someone on your behalf, on your team, riding with you, waving the flag and the surrender on your behalf.
My general says there is no point in continuing this fighting.
So this is difficult because what a defeatist mindset can kind of do, or a defeatist type of energy can do, is it ends up giving currency to the enemy. Attention is another word for focus. So once they have your focus, they're really making you focus on battles that are lost. And in process of thinking about battles that are lost or could be lost, you forget there's a war going on. And that maybe this battle that was lost is not the focal point, not needed for attention. Maybe the focus needs to be on the war. As I said, not different from a vampire in a sense it draws and it's an uneven exchange. It's different because a defeatist will be on your side and they have the best intentions. Defeatist energy would oftentimes mistake security for safety. They will sometimes be a bit of a naysayer, a Debbie Downer. In essence, what they are doing as well outside of the energy exchange is they're trying to supplant their belief or their perception onto you, which can be difficult if you are trying to make a change within your life. So for example, you see this defeatist energy, say someone was to break away from a particular habit, a destructive habit, say for example drinking, or even to the example of kind of losing weight or having a particular goal, doing something in your life that requires change. If you have that defeatist energy around you, in your circle, in your family, etc., then what you're going to notice is that when that person decides and has that epiphany or decides to change, the defeatist energy will be saying things like, well, why are you doing that? You can't do that. But what if? Now, where it's problematic is that us as human beings, we don't need other reasons to think what if. Defeatist energy shouldn't be mistaken as a realist energy. Realist energy, there's exchange of truth and there's an exchange maybe of a perception that maybe you haven't thought about before, and tries to keep to what is tangible and what is practical in that situation. But a defeatist is in essence funding and supplying the enemy. And what tends to happen with both vampiric as well as defeatist energy when it's external, when it's an individual, is that sometimes they don't realise they're doing it. As I said with a vampire, they're not aware of their theft. Same with a defeatist. They don't realise they're the Debbie Downer, they don't realise that they're the meekest, and they don't realise that they are causing you to doubt yourself or to feel a particular way that maybe isn't yours. Waving that flag on your behalf when you wasn't the one that raised it. And if you've got nothing but defeatists around you, when you want to make a change, when you want to break away, when you want to do something different, that defeatist energy is taxing you. A little bit less intrusive as the vampire does. In fact, defeatist energy can go underneath the radar. You'll hear these defeatists almost not be of conviction or strong conviction, but to be of superstition, right? They'll say things like, oh, bad things come in threes, and don't expect too much, and real sort of subtle sayings or terminologies that kind of exist and are supplanted into your mindset. And as soon as it is, it's like having a virus on the computer. You could be running the system and think the system's running perfectly, but there are viruses on that system.
Rather an interesting development, sir.
How we manage defeatist energy with its extrinsic, for example, is we just make sure that when we're around individuals, again like the energy vampire with a time and attention, is we're just paying attention to our attention or our intention, to not adopt situations, perceptions, maybe even beliefs that are not our own.
That's far enough! We can hear you from there!
Moving on to more extrinsic types of energy deductors is the whirlpool or the vortex, which starts as our own particular intrinsic thought pattern or process that starts really minute, and it intensifies and it builds a spiral that just keeps going and going and going and going until something so minute becomes something that was a force of nature. And when it becomes a force of nature, it's almost difficult to stop. Just like an eye of a storm or for other forces of nature, the best thing we can do is where we position ourselves and how we get ourselves away, or in the case of kind of an eye of a storm, it's being in the middle of it and kind of confronting it head on. As soon as that intensification starts to happen and we are able to catch it, is to be able to pull ourselves a lifeline and pull ourselves out that direction. And it doesn't always happen all the time because as it intensifies, it gets harder to kind of stop. Of course, this video has been focused on interpersonal dynamics and energy as it pertains maybe to us on an intrinsic level as well as an extrinsic level. But then this also could be applied to many other things that are looking to capitalise on our attention. And if you was aware of it like a currency, just how I'm aware that when I have a particular amount of funds and currency in my bank or in my wallet, and I'm really nervous at the end of the month that I'm not going to have enough of currency in there, or I may run out, and running out of a particular type of currency is the difference between you having a house, to having a car, to having the lifestyle you want. That is a real fear for most of us. Have we got enough of that currency? But we forget the other currency that runs along adjacent to it, which is our energy and our time and our attention, which is what the market is traded on.